Good morning. Welcome to the March 28th Wright County Board meeting. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. The minutes from March 21st, I will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading and approve as written.
I will move the minutes, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hewsom, second by Commissioner Vetch. Any additions, changes? Lee, did you have anything?
I did not.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda for today, and I understand, Mr. Potter, you have an addition that you'd like to put on?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to have under items for consideration E, I schedule a meeting, a closed session for property PID number 103-500-172203. Continuing discussion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter to put that on, and then with that, any other changes?
Mr. Chair, with that, I will move the agenda with that change as noted.
Okay.
I'll second.
We'll give that one to Chris, she was closer. So motion by Commissioner Potter to approve the agenda with the addition, and second by Commissioner Hewsom. Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda is set. The consent agenda for today, does anyone want anything removed for further consideration? If not, I'll entertain.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Vetch to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. I think we're at 9:03. First up today is our highway engineer, Mr. Virgil Hawkins. Welcome, Virgil.
Good morning, Chairman Burrell and Board of Commissioners. This morning I have two items for your consideration. The first one is to approve a concurring resolution for the City of St. Michael to designate a segment of County Road 119 onto their MSAS system. So this small portion would have dual designation, but state aid rules allow for that. And this would allow the city to draw needs on that portion of County Road 119.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead. Do you have a question, Mike? Otherwise, I had one too. Just, can you explain for us newbies here, MSAS?
Yeah, that's the parallel system to our county state aid highway system.
Okay.
Cities over 5,000 and
Oh, got it. It's the city thing.
municipal
Okay.
state aid system.
Municipal state agency.
This stretch is only like, what, a mile, not even?
This is 0.16 miles. It's just the segment of 119 in between the
It's
one-way
between the
pairs.
two
Oh, just
sections.
between the two, yeah, so it's a
Two
real small
one-ways.
section, yeah.
That was the clarification Mr. Chair is going to make. It's between the one-way pairs.
Yeah, eventually, if 119 gets rebuilt, then they could possibly take it over all the way to Jameson, which would make some sense in the future, but right now it's just this portion.
Okay, and you're totally in
Yeah,
support of it
we're
then?
fine with it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the designation of that portion of 119.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delighten. Further discussion? Derek, did you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Oh, Commissioner Houston. Oh, it's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
You know what? And I think I start this time, so I vote aye. Commissioner Delighten.
Aye.
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 Okay. Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you, Virgil.
The second item before you today is to approve a 2017 maintenance agreements between Wright County and 6 of our cities that they do snow and ice control on our highways within the cities, and they've returned all the agreements signed, and so I'm presenting them here for approval by the county board.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement contracts between the stated 6 cities.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Hewsom. You just can't get in today, Ken. Further discussion on that? Mike, did you have anything else on that?
Mr. Chair, maybe cut Commissioner Vetch off before he read the cities that the agreement was. were you gonna-
All 6 cities, but do you want me to list them out? It was Delano, Oak River, Monticello,
Montrose and Waverly.
Montrose and Waverly, yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous, so thank
Thank
you,
you.
Virgil.
Thank you.
We're close to schedule. By the time Chief Deputy Todd Hoffman gets to the podium, I think it'll be 9:06, and passes out his literature here.
A and B.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Chief Deputy Hoffman.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today I have in front of you the 2017 Safe and Secure Courthouse Initiative Grant application. As many of you are aware, the State Court Administrator's Office has approximately $1 million set aside to improve courthouse security within the state of Minnesota. This is open statewide. I just received an email today. At this time, there are 13 other agencies that have applied for this, and I believe, from what I've heard, it's roughly between $8,000 to $10,000 each is roughly the application that they've been requesting. We've been working with Lee Kelly's office and the owners committee with regards to identifying security features within the new courthouse facility. Late yesterday, Bruce Schwartzman from BKV Group sent me an email with a total security feature request of roughly $1.1 million. So what I have to you today is two different courthouse security grants. A, the first one being A, would be requesting a grant amount of $37,580 with a local match of $37,580. That A grant, if we decided to go with that, basically would just cover the purchase of a security screening package scanner, a walk-through magnetometer, and roughly 25 security cameras. That information, what was originally submitted to the county board before Bruce, or actually to Lee Kelly's office, before Bruce Schwartzman gave me the updated figures late yesterday. The grant that's labeled B is a much more extensive grant application. The total grant request on that one would be $576,039 for a same 50% match for a total package of $1,152,078. Just so the board is fully aware, this grant has a requirement of the project should be completed by fall of 2018. Our courthouse initiative, our courthouse project is not expected to be completed until spring of 2019. Court Administrator Monica Jumper has contacted the State Court Administrator's Office advising them of this, and they advised just to place a request for extension within the grant, and we did make note of that. However, they did not say whether or not that request would be granted. Also, they said through the application process, if you're not able to receive the full amount of the grant, would you be able to pay for these security initiatives? What other way would you pay for these security initiatives? And we put in there whether it's bonding or on the levy funds. So I guess at this point, oh, and one other thing, deadline's on Friday. So if the county is interested in going for this grant, a couple questions. One is, do you have a preference to going for broke or scaling it down to a couple items?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Chief Deputy Hopman, are both these items, I mean, the ones listed in the 1.15, are those items we were going to put in anyways?
Everything in here you're going to put in anyways.
Are these beefed up?
I'm sorry?
Are these items like beefed up than what we would standardly do, or?
I'll clarify that. At this point, we're still in the design phase of the project, of the building project. So can some of this stuff be scaled back? Absolutely. Nothing's gone to the bid package or anything like that. The county board has expressed interest in some of these security features already, like the screening stations. We're going to have cameras in there anyways, door access control, some of the other features most likely are going to be in there anyways.
So like the $60,000 on like the panic buttons, some of those things probably wouldn't be, they'd be just kind of more.
We have
Maybe.
them
Or
here.
we have all them, so
We have 'em
I
here,
just,
so we
I don't,
probably
you know,
want 'em.
I'm just looking,
The only thing we don't have now is the package scanner. Of course, we've got limited cameras. We don't have any cameras in the courtrooms, which this would be new for the cameras in the courtrooms. I'm not sure about the ballistic bench. I'm not sure if they have that in there or not. Again, these are all things that, as the program continues within the architectural phase, those things will be vetted out. And if you don't, obviously, if you don't buy it, you're not gonna get reimbursed for it.
so it'd be a safe assumption that of that $1.1 million grant application there, we're gonna be purchasing probably at least $700,000 of those items. If we didn't apply for it, would be a.
Correct. My guess is a substantial amount, if not all of it, substantial amount of it.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Chair.
Commissioner
Chief
Houston.
Deputy, just a point of clarification on the B, page 2, that dollar amount requested should be changed.
It's the same as A.
It's
On
the
the
same as
second
A.
page.
Yeah.
I thought I got two of the same copy until you
yeah,
get back
until-
to
yeah.
page 5, then it
Yep.
splits.
I guess from my standpoint, how we fund it, I guess would be the other question. If we went for the larger grant of our portion share of the 550,000, I guess that's the discussion point that I'd have.
That would be part of the part of the building,
Would you-
part of the new building.
Just bond the 550,
And it-
we're just looking for a free 550,000.
And if we didn't do it, correct me if I'm wrong, but probably a lion's share of this would just be into the building expense as well.
Yeah.
Correct. If you don't apply for the grant, the county's gonna be paying for it,
Right.
at least a substantial
Well,
amount.
then it is a no-brainer then I'll make a motion that we go for the larger grant at this point and go for broke.
I agree.
I'll
Commissioner-
second it.
I'm going to give this one to Commissioner Delighten. So motion by Commissioner Betts, second by Commissioner Delighten. And just to speak to that, yeah, if you lose 37, or you get 37 and you lose out on 500,000, it's, yeah.
But it also says in here that we will accept a lower amount too, so
Yeah.
doesn't, if they don't want to give us that much, then that's fine.
So it's not necessarily an all or nothing. Okay, further discussion, seeing none. All in favor of the grant request for the larger amount, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Chief Deputy.
And just for a matter of a process here, I'll make those changes. I can have it done yet hopefully before noon. And typically, these aren't signed until following week. Is it okay to have that signed yet today, tomorrow, by Commissioner?
Is there any objection from the board?
No.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
For Chief Deputy Hoffman, we will have a 1 o'clock meeting at the Highway Building, so if it's done during that period, that's where we'll be. So you could come out there with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Chief Deputy, that was great.
All right.
What's up
All right. We did vote on that lead?
Yes.
All right. And next up, Mr. Mark Mattice, Parks and Recreation Department Head. Morning, Mark.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It's nice to see Bob finally brought a qualified assistant that he's training in for his replacement with him today.
He's talking about you, Katie.
Child labor laws.
It's an elected position if,
Anybody can do
Gets
it.
away with that stuff, yeah.
Today, I am requesting authorization of signatures on the First Amendment to the operating agreement between YMCA Camp Montague, Wright County, and the City of Monticello related to the construction and use of the Bertram Beach House. That'll be going up this fall. Design process will be starting here soon. We've hired our design build team of SEH and Shingaby Builders, We're in contract with them, starting to develop the meeting schedule for those that are involved. This addendum, it basically talks about the investment in the beach house, wise contribution at 36%, based on square footage, basically stuff out of the ground lease, but memorializing that so that it's in record. This was taken to the city council last night, passed last night. You're today, and the YMCA executive board is on April 5th.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with YMCA,
In the city of Monticello.
City of Monticello, Wright County.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Delighten. Is there a second?
I'll second that. I
Motion
thought
by,
Potter had.
motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Vetch. The competition's gone in that second department, I guess. Commissioner Hewsom, you had,
Yeah, I just have a point of clarification. So the YMCA is 36% and the county is 64. Is City of Monticello? I wasn't sure about their portion, or
Mr.
how
Chair,
does that?
Commissioner Husum. The city of Monticello, this is in the passive use, so the development in the passive use is county's responsibility,
Okay,
as is the active use with the athletic field is non-county responsibility. That's been
that
very
separation.
clear.
That we so
We're
asked.
we're not going to be all 64% because we do have grant funds.
Yeah.
That'll go into that, but
Yeah,
the grant funds are our funds.
I just needed that for my own clarification about the
Yep.
City of Monticello, and now I understand that.
So Mark, will we be assuming as a county 100% of any liability insurance then on that building? Or will we be splitting the liability insurance with the YMCA on that?
We will be, insurance is our responsibility, Commissioner Vetch. It's a park asset.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, have a great day.
Thank you.
And next up, Mr. Brian Osleson, our Chief Deputy Attorney. Morning, Brian.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm seeking approval to retain Dwight Dolan to perform an appraisal for purposes of tax court. We've worked with Mr. Dolan before on some restaurant properties and had good results. This case in particular, we've gotten some signals from the petitioner, the landowner, that they are going to dismiss.
Oh.
But because of the timelines, us needing an appraisal a little over a month from now, I would like your approval today, and we're going to hold on to it probably until the end of the week at least, and not hire Mr. Dolan unless absolutely necessary. It's just these cases come up with the scheduling orders as far as the tax court is concerned, and we get some pretty tight timelines sometimes, so we're in a little bit of a pinch here.
That, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve retaining Dwight Dolan to perform the appraisal.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delighten. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osleson. Next up, Auditor Treasurer, Mr. Robert Hevola. What did you do? You anger Lee that you moved down on the list, or?
I'm not sure. Good morning, Board.
Better get on your knees.
Yeah. Board, the first item on my agenda is to approve the audit entrance minutes. Those minutes were prepared by the OSA. They're considered confidential. That was a meeting with management. But I can summarize that it was a review of the engagement. Who are the players? What are our responsibilities to provide them all the information that they need? They talked about the audit objectives, and then they went over what their responsibilities are to express an opinion on our presentation of financial data. And then we went over last year's audit. We identified certain pieces in which we have already responded to, or the format in which we're going to respond in the future. So, Board, that kind of summarizes our meeting with the OSA on February 6, 2017.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Potter,
Second.
second by Commissioner Delighten. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Board, the second item on my agenda is to have you approve the February guidelines. I believe they were distributed to you. And I didn't point this out for January, and I feel remiss there, but in Department 100, 5830, if you remember, we received back the River Rider funds. So our miscellaneous revenue seems to be way above budget. But I do want to alert you that we did get a memorandum from the Minnesota Department of Transportation kind of indicating to us what they recommend that we do with those refunded funds. So I can pass this out to you, but I think what I'm going to alert you is before the end of the year, we are going to either restrict or commit those funds for public transit. So it is revenue right now, but before the end of the year, we'll have some kind of harness on those funds.
And that's prudent to do, I mean, because it is designated for transit, we'll have to do that. The thing, though, as far as what we do, I think maybe would be a bad idea to hold off a little bit, because there seems to be quite a bit of flux in the transit system right now, and it would be, I don't think, wise for us to commit to something right now with as much as discord as there is in that system. So.
Right. But Board, before the end of the year, I do want to do something to, it doesn't roll into the general fund. I will
Exactly. Oh, no, no.
segregate it and.
You are totally correct, so, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the February revenue expenditure budget reports.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Delyden, second by Commissioner Hewsome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hope there was no discussion on that. Okay, next up, number 3, Bob.
Board, it is a pleasure to reintroduce Bruce Kimmel to you. Bruce Kimmel is with Ellers. And the first item on the agenda is to have you approve the professional services agreement, basically hiring Ellers to be our municipal advisors. Bruce is here to kind of go over this document with you. And then right away, we're going to go into approving the resolution for refunding the bonds. And then we're going to go into some ideas about the corresponding. So here's Bruce Kimmel from Ellers.
Canned applause.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you,
Morning, Mr.
Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning. As you can see, this is a pretty basic document. We don't go for really long and involved contracts. We've been told by other county clients that this seems to fit the bill, and hopefully it does for you as well. But if you do need any revisions, we're very open to those. What we just tried to do here is outline the scope of service that we'd be providing to the county as part of this bond issuance process. You can see the scope all the way through the process of structuring the bonds and going through the issuance process through closing. It talks about compensation. I should point out that our proposed fee is not to exceed $50,000 for the refunding. This includes all of our costs, both staff time as well as out-of-pocket costs. And it is a pretty significant reduction from our standard fee for service. We are very motivated to regain this relationship with the county, and we're excited to do that. And so I got approval for and am very confident in providing this $50,000 fee quote. Then you can see some legalese in points 5 through 8. I do know that liability insurance is of interest to most clients, and so we did include our current certificate of coverage as well. But then that's about it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Commissioner Hewsome.
Yeah, just a point of clarification is there's a few places where it says the cities,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hullabaloo, and Future. I just noticed.
I thought
three
I
places,
caught
but
those,
yeah.
but good catch.
I figure it was one of those, yeah.
We'll fix all those. I apologize and get you a clean copy.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what happens when you have a writer on the board to catch all those
Right.
little things.
So I
Except
could
my
do
own.
that highly complex find and replace. I'll try to remember that next time.
And you'll be in book number 10. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept and approve the professional services agreement with Ehlers and Associates.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Bruce, I don't know if you caught that or not, but Chris is an author. That's
I did, yes.
Very, okay.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Delyden.
Your fees is not to exceed $50,000. Is there another part that you'll get money for as part of the sale or something, or percent, or?
No, Commissioner Delyden, as an independent advisor, we're only compensated on a fixed fee basis. So that all of our compensation for advising you through the process of this refunding is through this fee. The underwriter that would buy the bonds would get its compensation through that underwriter's discount that we've talked about before, or choosing some amount of that allowance that we provide for. And then, of course, they can also sell the bonds at a slightly higher price than they buy them for from you, and that price markup, as it's called, can provide some of their compensation as well. But that's fully separate from our role in this process.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Kimmel.
Thank you. Should I just roll right in?
Whole resolution again?
Okay.
This is a resolution. We'll start with Mark.
No,
Yeah?
it's the next thing.
We need
Oh.
to talk about it.
Oh, this isn't the resolution?
Next item.
Okay, so, thank you. All right, so you're 50/50
Yeah,
anyway.
I know,
Chris.
yeah.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, next up.
Okay, Commissioners, I'm here to present the pre-sale report. I believe you have it for the proposed refunding. That is the next item, right? Okay, just making sure. And you can see we provided detailed findings and recommendations relating to the refunding. I'm happy to go through that in as much detail as you'd like. There is a resolution associated with that, but I guess what I'd like to do is have you hold off on that resolution unless it needs to come next, because then we also have some information about the courts facility project.
Okay.
And depending on what you decide to do after that courts project discussion, that will really decide whether to proceed with this resolution for the refunding exactly as proposed, or look at another course of business. But let me start with the pre-sale report, and my colleague Chris Mickelson is handing out some of the other information relating to the courts facility. I'm just going to go through a few of the points on the executive summary for the refunding. You can see that the proposed par amount of the refunding is $40,960,000. That's a little bit more than the par amount of the refunding that we discussed with you 2 weeks ago. It's not because the refunding has changed, it's because, believe it or not, the Treasury Department closed something called the slugs window, and the slugs, or state and local government securities, are basically an investment that we like to use for refundings like this to basically invest the monies from the refunding up to the call date. And because they closed that window, it means we have to use treasuries instead. And I won't go into all the details, but because of needing to invest in treasuries instead of these slugs, we're needing to structure the refunding in a little bit different way. But you can see that the net savings are approximately equal to what we had in our discussion 2 weeks ago. So some of the details on this proposed approach are different, but the net result to the county is approximately the same. And actually, I would point out that we ran these numbers last week, and since then, rates have come down. So we would be looking at a better situation if you sold this week as opposed to when we ran the numbers last week. But you can see under purpose, the purpose is to refund for interest cost savings your callable 2007 A bonds, the jail bonds as we call them. As you recall, the rates to be refunded are 4% to 4.75%, and the estimated refunding rates are 0.8% to 2.9%. When we take those into account, the net savings to the county is approximately $6.74 million over the next 12 and a half years.
You also have city in here, too.
That's where it was, that's where
My
I
goodness.
jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah, she was ahead.
I was ahead.
You
sorry.
knew it was somewhere.
Yeah,
She was into chapter
Apologize for
3
that.
that
already.
was in chapter 3.
And on a present value basis, that's about $5.8 million of savings to the county in today's dollars. This is an advance refunding because we are more than 90 days before the December 1 call date on the bonds. And as is probably clear to all of you, these will continue to be general obligations of the county, just like the existing bonds are. So the term is the same as on the existing bonds through the year 2029. And then we are recommending that the bonds maturing on and after 2027, so the last 3 maturities, be callable for refinancing at that time. That's over $10 million left. Or if you have the funds to prepay some of that, that's your sole discretion to do so as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that option.
Great.
Okay, and then, did you have more? Go ahead.
If you have a question,
No, I was just,
okay.
thought we-
I'll speed up a little bit.
oh, no, no, it's not that. I just thought we were ready for a motion. Now.
Okay. The rating, as you're aware, the county has a AA plus rating, an excellent, very excellent rating. We don't anticipate any problems in having that reaffirmed. And then we do make a point of including a basis for recommendation. We really evaluated all the options available to the county for this refinancing and methods of sale, and believe that this competitive sale approach is going to be most cost-effective and yield the best results for the county. Really, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, there aren't a whole lot of other points that I need to point out. You will have arbitrage monitoring and continuing disclosure requirements as you have on your existing bonds. Those will continue. And there are some other service providers involved that are noted on page 3, including Kennedy and Graven, your bond attorneys, Bond Trust Services as the paying agent, S&P as the rating agent. Grant Thornton will make sure that the escrow from this refunding will be adequate to pay off the bonds, the existing bonds in December. And then U.S. Bank would be the escrow agent for that. And then Ellers Investment Partners, last but not least, would be helping get those treasuries at the best possible yield to make that escrow to December as efficient as possible. Finally, on this, there is a proposed debt issuance schedule. You saw this 2 weeks ago, but it shows how we'll get from today to the sale of the bonds in late April and then closing in late May of this year. And then finally, if you flip ahead a few pages to the savings page, it's debt service comparison. It's another 3 pages in. You can see, again, in the far right-hand column, the estimated net savings to the county. That's net of all cost of issuance of about $6.74 million in doing this refinancing. So with that, Commissioners and Chair Burrell, do you have any questions about this pre-sale report?
Mr. Chair. Bruce, just for the public and for reviewing, the jail costs the county $50 million, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Tell me why after 10 years, no,
10 years.
it's been 10 years now since it was done, why the county still owes $40 million?
Sure. Mr. Delighten, great question. The long and short of it is that much like with a home mortgage, when you have a 20-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, the first number of years of payments are going to be predominantly interest. And as you pay on that mortgage, just like as you would pay on a level debt service municipal bond, the amount of principal that is part of each payment is going to grow over time. So you've paid off about $11 million of the bonds over the first 10 years. And as you can see, that really starts to accelerate over the next roughly 10 years, 12 years. So it's a very common approach, and it's the nature of the structure with level debt service that the first 10 years have proportionally less principal payments, more interest, and then that flip-flops over time and becomes much more principal than interest.
Okay, so like on my home mortgage, if I wanted to,
Right.
I can pay another $1,000 a year or whatever the case
Sure.
may be to help reduce that.
Yep.
Now, can the county do that on these type of things? We cannot, can we?
Correct, you cannot. You can sock money away and have that available at the next prepayment date so that you could make a lump sum redemption of bonds if you so choose to do that, or a future county board chose to do that. But once you decide on a debt structure, that is the scheduled set debt structure, you do have an ability to front load a refunding. So you could take an approach of paying off this debt earlier. But it's our understanding that achieving this roughly $570,000 to $600,000 a year of debt service savings is of interest to this board because it will help offset the cost of your future courts facility.
Yeah.
And speaking to what Commissioner Delyden was on to a little bit, I think too, it can also be structured, and I think the jail bond was structured this way, to where it was almost interest only the first couple years. It was a lot, just interest and not very much at all going, I mean, less even than a normal structure. It was loaded up to, set up to do just interest only the first couple of years.
You're absolutely right, Commissioner Burrell, and Bob Hevela just reminded me that actually in the first couple of years, you had a fair amount of capitalized interest, approximately $2 million that was being paid from the bond proceeds. So that would help to explain why also, in addition to just the basics of amortization, why you've paid off $10 to $11 million and you'll be paying off a lot more over the next 12 years.
Bruce, can you explain, just so the general public has it for their records, of the $6.7 million in savings by refinancing this bond, we have a cost of we have $50,000 for the advisors from you. How much are we looking at for the sale of the bonds? Just we have a total expense versus savings, just because I want that for the record for the public to understand.
So, Commissioner Vetch, great question. The $6.75 million is net of all costs, but if you look on the sources and uses of funds for the bond issue, you'd see about $330,000 of total estimated costs, and those are estimated. We try to be conservative, i.e. a little bit high on that front. So what you're getting is essentially, if you didn't have any cost of issuance, your total savings would be a little bit north of $7 million, right? And with this cost of issuance, it's about $6.75 million. So it's net of that. Yep.
It's included there, perfect.
Okay, so now you have another option here regarding the courts and stuff, regarding in comparison to this or in conjunction with this.
Correct. So, Commissioners, if you're okay turning the page and moving to the courts discussion, I think that would be appropriate. We have some new scenario information, a new calendar to discuss. Both of these contemplate a fall bond issuance for the courts. You remember 2 weeks ago we talked about, does it make sense to do a combined bond issue of the refunding and the courts here in the spring of 2018? Doing so would require a little bit longer timeline because you would have to go through the capital improvement plan process. And so instead of an April issuance, we're probably looking at a late May or early June issuance if you did a mega bond, if you would, for both the refunding and the new money. Another option we talked about was waiting until 2018 to bond for the courts facility, right before you needed that money. And then sort of a third option, maybe the Goldilocks option, was let's look at issuing bonds this fall once you had a little bit more information about the project and how much cash versus debt you wanted to put into it. Not maybe waiting all the way to 2018, maybe avoiding some of the possibility of future rate increases by bonding just this fall instead of waiting all the way until 2018. So basically what we want to do now is walk you through that fall issuance scenario. That's again sort of the middle ground scenario. I know that Bob and Tammy in the Auditor Treasurer's Office have prepared some tax impact information as well. We can talk through that. And then we're really looking for your direction, either to proceed with the refunding now and assume that you'll do courts financing at a later date to be determined, or if you want to go back and say, you know what, we really do want to do that combined bond issue here in 2017, then we would be on a different timeline for a combined issuance.
Chair.
So these scenarios, what's the amount for the courts? And we know what the amount for the LEC is, but what's the amount for the bond on these impacts? What did you
It's
guys?
the $40 million, right?
I think
So it's
$40 million for discussion purposes.
So the wrapped combined is 80 million then? Because you look at the scenarios where you're putting the jail court wrap, that's based on 80 million, correct then?
Right, it's assuming the savings of the refunding.
Yeah, but then combining them together in
No, actually, this wrap column, Commissioner Vetch, is going back to the numbers we presented 2 weeks ago, where your debt service initially was lower, and then we took advantage of some of your other debt service falling off or the jail bonds falling off to wrap around. I think really what we want to be looking at, whether you do a combined bond issue here in early 2018, or if you do something this fall, or even next year, is really this level debt service column that's the second from the right, as it relates to the tax impacts. And do you want to walk through that, either of you, or I can certainly, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Go ahead.
Again, Commissioners, I wanted Tammy to present some real examples of properties in Wright County. What would be the impact if we refund the bonds and then issue $40 million, consuming the most expensive debt service, the level debt service that we have? So I think we used Commissioner Delight your property, and Commissioner Burrell, I think we used your egg property. So as an example. So if you want, Tammy could go over that.
I want to know.
The action item before you is to approve the refunding now, and then agree that we're going to issue the courts bonds later. Bruce would have a resolution in front of you right now to go forward with.
Mr. Potter.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think this one's been talked about a lot. Doing them together, it would be a little premature for us because we're not settled on a number with the courts yet. But the idea is to bond them within this year to take advantage of a couple savings and the market being in our favor right now. And is to go forward with the schedule for the courts once we dial in on a number, because there's a couple other factors that have to be dealt with in there before we reach a final number, because I don't want to say 35 or 38 or 40 million now in the courts until we have something real firmed up. Because I don't think they're going to want to take an extra $5 million in cash towards this if we're off by that a little bit. But the jail refunding, that's the here and now, that's the bird in the hand. I'm anxious to get that one done, so we know where we're at on that. And as far as the tax impacts for either doing wrap or separate, I don't see it as being monumentally different either way. Putting them together, there's just too much unknowns about what that dollar amount is, and that's the part I want to make sure we get right when we actually do that bond, because we also have the space study within the government center here that needs to be done, and if that number comes back, what we need to do, is that a thing we need to have a discussion on that? Do we wrap that in with that court bond at the same time to remodel this as that's being done? So those are questions that we need to answer up here, and that's why separating these out, to me, makes the most sense right now.
Well,
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
I agree with Commissioner Potter. I mean, to me, when we went through the numbers and the almost $8 million savings by going ahead with this refunding now makes so much sense, because like you said, we don't know what's going to happen when we do the space study and what that might impact for numbers, so, yep.
So Commissioners, if you don't mind, to me, the action before you now is to move forward with the refunding bond. Bruce can go over the calendar of what we're going to have to do to issue the construction bonds. And then I think we should just hold off on these impacts because we don't know the size of that bond right now. No. I just wanted to show you that we're ready to show you some examples, but I don't know that they're meaningful until we know what the size of the bond is.
well,
I agree with that.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
actually, in a way, they are kind of meaningful, just looking at these tax impact comparison, because based on an as-is and not refinancing, it shows the savings involved on real estate properties.
Do you want Tammy to go over that with you, or is that pretty?
If you want
Maybe
to.
an example or two?
Well, I mean, you can just go over those, for 2018 as-is and 2019 jail, for the public to see anyway. And that way, at least they'll get it in official minutes and stuff.
Marks are on there.
Do you want to turn it on so the public can see it?
Because you guys did spend some time on it.
Right,
And I mean,
yeah.
it's really nice because
It
it
is.
does show that there's an actual savings by doing the refinancing.
What I've provided for you here is on the far left side of the paper is exactly what 2017, what a property, in this case residential property, is paying. So I've got an example of a residential property, a commercial property, and ag. I do want to clarify with the ag, I literally only took your ag portion of your property. I excluded out some of the other classifications that are combined with that same property. So I only took ag value.
And just so the public knows, we probably have, maybe about, 80 or so acres of tillable, so, yeah.
Perfect. So 2017 in all those scenarios is exactly what your 2017 taxes would look like. In that second column, the 2018, 19, and 2020 as is exactly like Commissioner Delighten had stated, what your taxes or what the debt service portion of your taxes would be if we were not to issue this refunding bond or the courts bond. That middle column, that third column, the 2018, 2019, and 2020 jail refunding, that is what is presented to you today to refund the jail bond and how that will look. You can see that, so what I did is I broke out each of our bonds that we currently have right now, and to make things easy, I kept our 2007 jail bond labeled as the 2007 jail bond. I did not rename that, just to keep things kind of clean. With that said, you can see that our figures go down. For a residential property, 2018 as is, the debt service portion is about $110. And if you do that refi, or that refunding, it will be about 99, I think is what that says. Yes. Those last two columns are exactly like Mr. Kimmel had stated, that it's not necessarily combining the two, but it's just if you guys decide to refund the existing jail bonds as well as issuing a courts bond. And he had provided the two debt service schedules to keep that at a level principal payment plan, I guess is kind of how to say it, versus taking advantage of our other debt service in that far right column and trying to keep that so that it's the same, that he wraps them all together, basically.
And that's what that wrap means?
Yeah, yep, it goes back to the paperwork that he had provided to you guys 2 weeks ago.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
I want to thank Bob and Tammy for putting this together. And I'll reiterate back, we don't have a set number. This was based on the $40 million courts. And say that number swells up to $50 million because of whatever comes in, then that skews that last column.
It does, and
Not by major amounts, but a little bit.
What also will affect this, obviously, is change in value. I kept the same scenario with all of these, that value does not change, which we all know is probably not going to happen.
Right.
I also did not change our tax capacity.
Correct.
That's likely going to change as well. So it literally is keeping everything the same as it is for 2017 through 18, 19, and 20.
But it's still a nice way to,
Right.
if nothing changed, which we know isn't going
Right.
to happen, on what would happen. So it actually, in the long run, it'll actually end up being better than this.
Right.
And
for
Mr.
everybody.
Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also for the public to understand that in the last couple of years, we switched to actually using real tax statements instead of John Anderson, Anytown USA, Maple Street, whatever the heck. We've actually got real tax statements. And these are Commissioner Delighten's and Commissioner Burrell's, the last one. And I've offered up mine so that people can see what it actually impacts us, because it's a lot more close to home if you know that this is what I'm actually paying on this. So it's easier when you're doing budgets, and that's, so some people get the notion that if you're up here, you don't pay taxes. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did, because if it did, everybody would apply for the job, I guess. But the thing is, it's nice to have the real tax, because it's real world scenario. And I do appreciate the hard work that's gone into doing this. It's another thing is I did have Tony Rasmussen and his group get their assessment or their tax capacity increase or their tax value increase for next year already, and it's $223 million. So that's a substantial increase, and thank you, Tony and Tammy and their staff over there for getting this done. I pressed you, and I'm glad it's there, because it's nice for when you're doing budgeting, have these numbers there before you start.
So that 2018 number you put in here didn't even include that. So that already shows right there that that's,
It's going to go down.
yeah, that's great. Great.
Thank you.
So commissioners, if I can kind of bring us back to full circle.
No,
Bruce came out here, in your packet was the resolution to authorize the refunding bond. So that resolution was predicated that we weren't going to issue the combined bonds, and I think it's ready for you to go, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution providing for the sale of $40,960,000 Go Jail Refunding Bond Series 2017A.
Second it.
Motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Potter. And I think we talked about this in the meeting, and Derek, you were kind of saying this, you thought was the way to go too,
Yep,
and I agree too,
absolutely.
so. Well, we'll find out how we agree, so. Commissioner Delighten, you're first up. Go ahead, it's a resolution.
Aye.
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 Aye. I guess I was reading that one right.
Right. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Now that we're going to authorize the refunding sale bonds, Bruce has this draft schedule of events. I think it's important that you have an appreciation of what it's going to take to issue fall bonds. So if Bruce is going to go over this timeline with you for our future bonds.
Thanks, Bob. And I'll keep this brief, Commissioners. Thank you, first and foremost, for the authorization to move forward. We look forward to working with you on the refunding. So what we just did here is a hypothetical issuance calendar, getting you to having proceeds for your courts facility project in October this year. Of course, you can move that either direction, either later or earlier, however you saw fit. But regardless of what timing you follow, these are the steps that you'll need to follow to have a legally authorized capital improvement bond for your courts facility. So you can see if we wanted to target a sale in early September and closing in October, we would really need to start in early July with you providing notice to the newspaper, having a publication no less than 14 days prior to the public hearing. You can see that we assumed that would take place in mid-July. We assumed the public hearing and the pre-sale would happen in August 1st, with the presentation, much like this one, of the pre-sale information as well as the formal capital improvement plan. You may recall that it has a number of statutorily required provisions that we need to walk through in order to have a valid authorization to move forward with the bond issuance. And then you would be approving the resolution to move forward in September for that financing. Then in early August, we would distribute the official statement on your behalf, look to have the credit rating discussion in August as well. And then the 30-day reverse referendum period would end at the end of the month, allowing you to move forward with the bond sale in September. Again, we're estimating the 5th with closing on October 1st or 2nd. Any questions about that timeline or the steps involved to get there and how it relates to your project?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Bruce, the schedule looks good. The only thing in question is when we do the space study here, I feel confident by July we would have a fairly solid number, for sure with the courts. The only one out there is the space study for in here. That's the only one that might be able to skew this by a week or two. I wouldn't project, Coordinator Kelly, do you figure before the end of July we should have our space study pretty much an idea what's going on with that?
I would think that's probably a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, because that's where I go, because if this goes off by a week, it's not going to, week or two, I want to give that flexibility. The schedule looks good, it makes sense, the sequence, but the date might be the July 17th. Or the 24th, depends on how all this other stuff comes in, but by that time, I'm confident we'll have firm numbers what to go with, whether that's 40, 45, 50, or whatever that number turns out to be.
So, Commissioner, I was hoping to impress you of the timeline.
Yeah.
Basically, by the time you decide you want to issue these bonds, it's 3 months later. So we have until September to really issue December bonds. So
Okay.
there's no critical rush to figure out a number. As soon as we know it, we can get going.
No, and that's what I appreciate is it's like a chess game. You got to plan your moves ahead right now.
All right. Are there any other questions about the courts facility information before I be quiet and let you get on to the rest of your agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
regarding the conference call with Standard & Poor's for bond rating, is there a time frame where you don't have to even deal with that? Or is it because we're going to be doing the refinance that we're going to end up having to, as soon as you do make that change?
That's a great question. Commissioner Delighten and Commissioners, I anticipate that, well, I guess, Bob, when do you get your audit for 2016, the official audit?
Our pine, we're going to have those probably about June or July.
Okay. So, Commissioner Delighten, if you had, because we've run into this before, if you already had your 2016 audit, then that second rating call would be about 15 minutes. It would be super, super fast. just making sure the wheels haven't fallen off the county in the 4 or 5 months. In this case, because you will have a new audit in place by that fall issuance, it probably will be a full-blown rating call again, going over those official results from 2016.
Okay.
But I want to impress, even if S&P's fee is going to be full fee, again, as I indicated 2 weeks ago, our fee would be discounted because of our prior engagement with this refunding.
And I wanted to say we appreciate you doing that, too.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Bruce.
for the info.
Okay, on to items for consideration. Building committee minutes. Commissioner Potter, could you do that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Building Committee met March 22nd. Members present, Potter, Vetch, and Wilczek. The only item that we discussed was the Public Works flat EPDM roof. It's that rubberized roof. We had a windstorm on March 8th that went under the parapet and lifted the whole thing up. High winds damaged it. It tore loose everything there, caused a couple other little flashing bends and that. We had B&B Roofing put some tires down to temporarily hold it in place while we're talking with the insurance MCIT. Wilczek could present a proposal from Inspect, the firm that we've got doing everything else on there, and the slope roof project and everything else to oversee that flat roof to see where it's at. The thing with the storm, we kind of got, personal opinion here is kind of the lottery ticket with this because of we had done some minor repairs and we had it in a capital improvement budget to replace it in 4 years. And this just speeds everything up. So, it's kind of like, say, the lottery ticket here for this deal. It was the certificate, everything else that was in good shape. So we had that. We are fortunate that we did what we did because there could have been some question whether it was really there or not. The proposed scope for the service work is $40,700 of the estimated project use replacement cost at $300,000. We had a little bit higher number than that in our CIP for that because we just based on an average what it was going to be, and prices fluctuate all the time. And our deductible with MCIT is $5,000, which we'd have anyway. So we basically have $45,700 out of the county pocket into the replacing that roof, which is a pretty reasonable thing. The recommendation is to move forward and inspect in their design and oversight of the services that were recently vetted, engage the site for upcoming sloped roof replacement, and also engage bidders early in the process to keep the project moving forward given the risk of the current roof condition, because right now it's being held down with tires and other weights. And hopefully we don't have another major storm event to take that out. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll approve the minutes and the recommendation.
I'll make a motion, or I'll second that, I'm sorry.
Okay, so a motion to approve the minutes with the recommendation by Potter and second by Commissioner Vetch.
You can make a motion to second that motion?
I second that. He made the motion, I second
So I thought maybe you were going to make the motion to second the motion.
it. That too.
Okay, further discussion, seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Committee of the Whole, Lee, would you be able to?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can take those. Wright County had a committee of the whole at tour of the Rolling Hills landfill located at 175 County Road 37 Northeast in Buffalo. The meeting took place on March 20th at 9 in the morning. Commissioners Burrell, Hewsome, Vetch, Potter were in attendance, along with Mike Niewind, the general manager of the facility, and Timothy D. Curry, the regional landfill manager, and Drew Emmer. Public in attendance, Mr. Jeff Young and Mr. Mark Rise, and staff in attendance, Assistant County Attorney Greg Kreiser. The meeting started with a presentation by Mr. Niewind and Curry about the construction of the lined landfill system. Mr. Niewind and Curry reviewed how the clay layers and the liners were installed, or are installed. Construction and operation of the leachate collection, gas extraction, and flare systems were also reviewed. Mr. Niewind indicated Advanced Disposal intends to file a rezoning application with the Office of Planning and Zoning within the next month. After the presentation, the committee then toured the grounds of the active landfill area. The committee was shown how the flare, gas, and leachate collection systems work. The gas and water test wells were also identified during the tour. The committee then toured the active face of the landfill and observed the staging areas used by advanced disposal. No action was required. This is just an informational set of minutes. Meeting adjourned at 10:10.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve.
So
those
moved.
min-
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Personnel Committee. And who was I going to ask? Commissioner Dalliden. I would have asked you sooner, but
You were on the phone. That's right, I seen your note here.
No, Mr. Chair, I warned him back there that he was going to get.
Yes, he did, yes, he did. Personnel Committee met on March 22nd. Members present were Hewsome, Delight, Hesse. Others present were Rasmussen, Triplett, Anderson, Hagerty, Hoffman, O'Malley, and Riley. 3 items were discussed. Item 1, amend property appraiser job descriptions. There was discussions about the requirements for assessors that will be taking effect July 1st, 2019. Individuals first licensed as assessors prior to July 1st, 2015, and whom appraise or physical inspect are going to acquire an AMA license. And then individuals first licensed after that will have to inspect real property, must obtain an AMM license within the 4 years after receiving the initial Minnesota assessor's license. Currently, we and individuals have 2 years from hire date to obtain the CMA, and then additionally to obtain the AMA accredited Minnesota assessor's licensure. Field experience is required in order to get that one. The proposed request is 3-part. Revise the minimum qualifications for the property appraiser job descriptions reflecting new certification requirements. This revision results in an increase in overall rating of the position. Position will be reclassified from grade 11 to grade 12. And additionally, the minimum qualifications of the senior property appraiser will be revised to include SAMA licensures and 5 years of experience. And that position will be reclassified from grade 17 to grade 18. Item 2 on it was establishing standard hiring criteria for applicants and the required licensing to begin employment with Wright County. And item 3 was establish a standard increase in hourly wages within the assigned salary grade of the classifications for employees who obtain required certification levels while employed. Upon board approval, the county is required to negotiate the implementation of only the standard increase in hourly wage portion of this request. There was some handouts given. The recommendation was to approve all 3 requests as proposed. Enter into negotiation with 320 Courthouse Union to discuss the implementation of standard increase in hourly wages due to certification levels.
Mr. Chair.
go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Prior to moving on to the next subject on this, you want to remind the public that it wasn't that long ago, it seems like, we moved the assessor's office from 2nd floor down to the old sheriff's dispatch area in anticipation of this law change. And it was well thought out and well done to provide this prior to this being a squeeze, because if we had not moved them, we'd be in a real pinch right now. And the room has worked out real well, because we had anticipation of maybe some townships would come in and some have. And once this takes full implementation, who knows what's going to happen with the rest of them. We need to be prepared, because ultimately it is on the county's back to get these done. Again, thank you, Tony, Tammy, and Keith, and all the rest of the staff for staying on top of things here, and great job.
Okay.
You assessed a lot of properties.
Yeah, more to come.
Yep.
Sheriff's, item 2 was Sheriff's Office Reorganization Plan. Sheriff Hagerty presented a reorganization plan for the clerical and communication divisions of the Sheriff Office. The recent hire of the new business manager at the Sheriff's Office has opened up an opportunity to review the structure of the clerical staff. Hager explained he has been looking at restructuring clerical staff for some time. He and Chief Deputy Hoffman have met with HR Director Heskey several times over the last month to review and discuss a proposed reorganization. The new business manager will start employment with Wright County on April 3rd. The individual brings strong supervisory experience. Additionally, the clerical division has improved processes with technology-specific, for transcription tasks. The division is currently down 1.5 FTEs through attrition. The proposed reorganization of the clerical division includes the following. The business manager will assume supervisory responsibilities of clerical divisions. This position will be part of the Sheriff's Office command staff. Eliminate 2 office supervisors positions. Reclassifications of 2 Office Tech 2 positions to accounting technicians. 2 staff in the OT positions are already performing accounting technician responsibilities. Reclassifications of 1 Office Tech 2 to a TAS position. 1 staff in the OT2 position is already performing TAS responsibility. Add 1 accounting technician position and add 1 Office Tech 2 position. The timeline is the Office Tech 2 position reclassifications effective the first day of the pay period following board approval. Office supervisor positions eliminated effective April 28th, 2017. Staff have been made aware of the reorganization plan proposed and will be notified immediately of formal board approval. This was discussions was after this meeting when this was had taken place. Vacate accounting technician and O2 Office Tech 2 positions posted internally April 3rd through the 7th. External posting April 10th if necessary. Communications correction divisions eliminate licensed sergeant position and communications through attrition over next several months. In the meantime, Sheriff's Office staff will work with HR to develop civilian communications supervisor job descriptions for transition. Net results of reorganization of Sheriff's Office is a reduction of 1.5 FTE. Recommendation was to approve Sheriff's Office reorganization plan as proposed. And you do have a copy of the reorganization plan currently and the proposed staffing.
And then Commissioner Delight, would it be all right on under the timeline, the second bullet point there, in parentheses, just to clarify it? So staff will have been made aware of the reorganization plan and will be notified immediately? Or how do you want to word it? Because I think they were notified right after the meeting. I just want to make, we got it, I don't know how the English, Chris, do you have a suggestion there?
Yes. Where's your thesaurus?
Yeah.
Well, it's just,
I would say,
staff will be made aware of the reorganization plan.
Sonny, how would you?
Revise it. The reference was that the staff would have been made aware following the personnel committee
Before the board meeting.
For the board, after that meeting, but before the board meeting.
So we can say staff.
Okay, we'll work that out with Susan. I just want it to be accurate there. Okay.
Yeah, because this is not accurate.
And then before we do the recommendation, I guess I have a couple things I'd like to just talk about. And I did talk with Sheriff Haggerty, and very good visit, and I want to applaud you because you just don't see government coming and trying to make things more efficient, and like I said, I want to give the sheriff high praises on this, for doing this. And now, if these 2 positions that were being eliminated, if they were union positions, they would be offered their old positions back, and I believe that's what the sheriff fully intends to do. But we have and Sonny, maybe you can address this, but we have a policy, personnel policy, where they have to reapply. And I guess do you want to come up, Sonny? I have a question for you, because I know we have a county policy that way, but could the board in this recommendation just say,
It's actually contract language. So because the
In-
two
in the
vacant.
union, you mean?
Yes, so
Okay,
because
yeah.
the two vacant positions are union positions, our contract language says that we have to post those vacancies. The two.
so say that again. So
Okay,
if they
so-
were union positions, the people themselves though would be offered their
the-
old job back at the highest,
The two positions being eliminated are non-union positions.
okay.
If those were union positions, then they would potentially be offered a vacant position based on seniority. It's not always dependent on what their previous position was.
Okay,
Depends on whether they qualify, and if there's a vacancy. Even if there's not a vacancy, they could potentially bump a less senior person or the least senior person. But because the positions being eliminated are non-union, there's not that opportunity. The two positions being added are union positions. Therefore, we have to follow our contract language, which requires us to post those positions at a minimum internally.
Sunny, but I'm under, there's a little bit of a confusion there because some of these people that were in this position were reclassified at two pay grades higher, and under the county's reclassification policy, they don't have to post those positions.
So that's different. So those are three current OT2s who have, what's been explained to me is that those three positions or those three people are actually performing tasks of another classification. And so that's looking at three OT2s, reclassifying those specific OT2 positions to appropriately reflect the duties that those staff are performing.
Unfortunately, I just think at the timing of the reclassification with the restructuring and reorganization, it's lending people, it has a perception that it's promoting people versus a reclassification. Perception's everything, and that's because with the perception on this is really poor, and that's.
And that
Well,
could
a
very
sticking
well
point
be,
that I
and
have
I
right now.
understand that. I think, unfortunately, we've got people who are performing tasks outside of classification. We've got to make that right, if that's actually happening.
And maybe that should have been done at one separate time versus this being packaged together. It probably would have, it would have passed the smell test a little bit better. That's
Potentially.
the situation that I'm seeing right now because there's a lot of pushback. And from that, the reason I want to have some further discussion as a group, I want to make sure that everything that we're doing, we're fostering a good work environment, and we're fostering people that want to do the best for us in the county. And I'm a little bit concerned that if some of the things that we enter into aren't passing the general public smell test, that it leads us into dangerous territories.
and thank you, Commissioner Vetch. So could we, I mean, at some point, and this is the future now I'm talking, to have maybe a personnel committee of the whole and look at our policy to treat non-union people the same?
Policy is different than our contract, so.
Okay.
To be able to remove the language within our contract.
Okay, I said
We'd have to
policy.
negotiate
Okay,
that.
I said the wrong word, I'm sorry. To look at, if we had a personnel committee of the whole, to look at the contract that we do. I don't think the non-union people that have this contract would be opposed to amending the contract to say that they will be treated.
But it's not the non-union people, it's the union that would likely have an issue with that because now non-union people who are not paying dues may have a right
That's
to.
our prerogative, though.
Not
No,
currently.
not here.
We would
Not
have
with
to
the
negotiate it and the union would have to agree to that. And I highly doubt we're going to be successful in that negotiation.
So Sonny, since we did a reorganization, these positions these new reclassified positions are new positions. We can basically state that we want to open it up for everybody to apply for them, couldn't we?
Well, unfortunately, because we have the staff in the position that are performing the task, that's not the practice that we've held.
So
We've had another position recently in Health and Human Services where we had an individual performing the duties outside of classification, and we reclassified just that one position to a higher level position to take account for the actual duties that the position was performing or that individual was performing.
So I have a question. So I'm talking now with non-union contract, okay? So we do not have the prerogative to change a contract with our non-union people? With
We don't have non-union
Okay,
contracts.
so what is it then that we have with our non-union people? A policy, a
Policy.
contract, or
Yep,
what?
our non-union, we have policies.
Okay, policy. I said policy before, and you said no, it wasn't
Well,
policy.
because you're getting it confused. We have a non-union policy that, I don't know it off the top of my head. We can change that for non-union positions.
Thank you.
But the vacant positions are union positions. So we would not be able to move non-union people automatically into a union position because the union contract says we have to post the union positions.
That's why it's posted.
Contract
That's why
reside,
it's
yeah.
posted.
Following you now. Man, this is, I thought it was clear cut there for a while.
Mr. Chair, it gets juicy.
Go ahead.
I do have a question for Sunny. The position to be part of the sheriff's support, Sheriff's Office Command Central, and this business manager is a civilian, not a licensed person. Is this typical in a sheriff's department or not? I have no idea if this is typical practice or if this is the outlier. I have no idea. It's,
As far as the business manager being part of the command staff?
I haven't spoke to other sheriff's offices or police departments about how they structure their clerical division. I know county attorney's office, court services, they have a office manager type person who does the supervision without middle management.
okay. It was a question because I didn't know if that, because usually your command center, most of your people here are licensed.
Well, they're not all, though. The captain or the jail administrator is a
Licensed,
non-licensed.
licensed, that's what I'm
No,
seeing.
the jail administrator is a
He's not
non-licensed
licensed?
position.
Oh,
So they're not all licensed positions
Okay.
on the command staff.
So I just have one more point of clarification, if I may. So the two people that are in question here that would have to reapply for an open position, during their career, they may have gone from a union position to a non-union position, and then maybe even go to another union position as they might have worked their way up through I mean, it's a possibility at least. I'm not saying they did. So then they're in a non-union position now, and to go back maybe to where their old position was, it may have been a union position, and then they have to post for that because of the union rules.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Burrell,
Am I right on that, or?
yes, but the underside fact is that the other side of it too is that there's only one position that they can apply for that's a pay grade 8. One position that they can apply for is a pay grade 6. The two individuals that are being moved are at pay grade 12.
Right.
You know, there was multiple spots at pay grade 8, but they reclassified, so only one of them was actually an open vacant spot. The other ones were reclassifications, which people went from a 6 pay grade to an 8 pay grade. You know, and that's where kind of the sticky point to this is. I think they could have been finessed a little bit differently if it was properly vetted, and I just don't feel like it was properly vetted to try and get this to pass the smell test.
I think I understand what you're saying there too, but like I said, I support the sheriff. Anytime that we're streamlining government operations, I'm gonna support that. And if it may be that this might be a temporary thing too, because one of these positions that you are right, they're taking substantial pay cut. But if it's going to streamline government, and you know, kind of my philosophy, my core is that's what we want to do, then, but that's not to say that there's not going to be a position open up or they can get promoted back within our organization again too. It might hopefully just be a temporary setback, and I know it's painful to the particular employee, and I empathize with them, get the right letter in there, but I think I'm going to support the sheriff on this, but I'm not disagreeing with you that maybe we could have.
I just think that there's a lot of other side issues to this that need to be discussed, and there may be a savings there, but there also could be some cost factors to this to us as well. Just looking at it because it doesn't smell good, and this is one of the issues that we've already had. I don't know if it's a 5%, 10%, 50% of the sheriff's department. Right now, there's a few of them in there. I don't know if it's a small amount of them or a large amount of them, but they are very loud about their unhappiness. And we need to find a way to foster some of these relationships so we don't have the high turnover in this department. We need to find ways to get them to want to work with us instead of working against us. And this is just another thing that's going to compile this fight. The more somebody pushes, the more somebody wants change, the more questions it makes me want to ask. And this poses me to the position where I want to ask questions.
Chair Burrell, can I just?
Go ahead. Do
I was-
you want to do it first?
What are you suggesting, Commissioner Vetch?
You know, I have a few different ideas. One of them I want to find out, you know, have a discussion as to, is there another option as far as with these reclassification in these positions? That's one discussion that I want to have. Another possibility is it something that we have to look into, the feasibility of a managerial audit? I'm just having, from the top down, this isn't a managerial audit. This is just a snapshot of one department. This isn't all the way through the piece. I don't want to get into the sheriff's department's business. That's not what I want to do as a commissioner, but I also want to make sure that we are building and fostering good work relations with our employees here at the county. And that is the one thing that right now I just am not feeling real comfortable about.
And I'll give it to Commissioner Houston in a second, but
Right,
when we do make these changes, though, and we're going to streamline, it's not always going to be smooth. There's going to be a bump in the road, and somebody's not going to like it, so
But Charlie, there's more to this than we can even discuss
Well,
in this forum.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I've asked some questions, and there's, that's the only reason I'm stating this stuff, so.
Commissioner Houston.
I didn't have anything, I think.
I just wanted to say that decisions like this are never easy. Anytime you impact individuals, it's not an easy decision. But part of the sheriff's job and part of my job when things like this are brought to me is to look at how we can run more efficiently as a county. I think to your point, Commissioner Vetch, I understand your concern about the reclassifications, but if you look at it from the other perspective of those 3 people who've been performing duties outside of the classification that they're in right now, it's no matter which way you do it, somebody's not going to be happy.
But that
So
was a
either
flaw. That was a flaw then from a department standpoint that they were putting on duties onto somebody that wasn't classified correctly. You know, prior to putting the duties on, they should have at that point reorganized and reclassified it prior to giving them the duties.
So who
For
should have
time-
done that?
I
The
mean-
supervisors?
Yes.
over
Supervisors
time,
should
though,
have done
things
that?
like those do occur. We've had many situations in the 2 years that I've been here where reclassifications have been brought forward because processes change, responsibilities change, technology changes, and therefore duties change. And so that's not uncommon for that to happen. I just wanted to make the point that, like I said, decisions like this are never easy, and no matter which way we go with this, somebody's not going to be happy, and that doesn't make anybody feel good, but it is kind of the way it works.
Absolutely, and I know walking out of here, there's no good answers on this whole situation. None of them are good. I've looked at it every which way. I've spent up last night looking at it, agonizing on what's the best answer to this, and there isn't any good answers to it. And I just want to make sure that at least I can walk out of this room and say that, you know what, the pertinent questions were asked. The situation was vetted to the best possible, option that we could have, so that we can actually stand behind the decision that we made. And that's the question that I'm posing.
Well, in the business world, sorry,
Go ahead.
in the business world, it happens a lot. I mean, my wife was, her position on one of her jobs was eliminated, so she had to apply within, and this was at Norwest Corporation. So it happens a lot in the business world.
Absolutely. In my business, I can lay somebody out, but I'm not going out there as a business owner to go and ask them to vote for me the next week either. So it's a totally different option. You can,
Well, to see, that's part of the problem, is that
this is a public entity. This is everybody's business. This isn't just your business and you're making a profit. This is about us managing the money for everybody and managing everybody's employee.
Right, so if we can do things more efficiently, then that should be done.
Well, yeah, but it's done efficiently, but is it efficiently in making that change from inefficiency? Is it vetted properly so that we aren't opening ourselves up to possible any litigation or to dissemination or any kind of,
Chair Burrell, can I just ask, what would you say is the proper vetting? Because we did take, Sheriff Hagerty brought it to HR brought it to the Personnel Committee. So we went through the steps that are in place to vet the proposal.
I guess I would have liked, one of the points that I would have liked is that all of the new created accounting texts, which you guys are saying were reclassified, but unfortunately that process already had taken place, so there's no undoing that.
No, it hasn't
deal.
been done yet.
But I would have liked to have seen them opened up for everybody to apply to, just because it's very questionable when you're making a 2 pay grade jump and you're gonna, yes, I understand the duty aspect of it, and it technically does fall within the county's policy for reclassification. But I think just from a perception standpoint, if anybody within that clerical pool or anybody internally could have applied for it, it maybe would have helped pass the smell test and would have offered us a lot less upheaval within the department.
Not necessarily, because if we post it internally, it gets posted countywide. You could therefore have people from other departments applying for the position and become the top applicant. Now you've got more people out of a job.
But at least it's fair,
And I would argue that the process that we're following is fair based on policy.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, you might understand that these 2 positions that are being eliminated, that there's no opportunity to reapply for any position within the sheriff's department? Or is
There will
there?
be 2 vacancies, so
Because
there will be a
those are
vacant
union versus
accounting tech.
non-union.
They'll be able to apply. We just can't automatically put them in the position.
Right.
Okay.
So there will be a vacant accounting tech position and a vacant OT2 position.
But aren't they
By
union?
contract language, we have to post those internally at a minimum for
Okay.
7 days, I believe. They would be able to apply for those positions just like anybody else internally
But the
could.
odds of them being non-union versus union is not going to give them really much of a leg up on this.
Well, no, we have the management right to offer those positions to the people we feel are the most qualified.
Okay.
If you've got 2 people who have been performing similar tasks, have been working in the sheriff's office for many, many years, there's a good chance that they're going to come out on top in that interview process.
And in this case, the 2 applicants
Potentially
that
have
are
held the
candidates
positions.
might be overly qualified.
Right.
But if anything, so. I'd sure hope that would work out, but I wish we could just say, here, you have these positions, but I kind of understand it now. I wish I would have talked to you sooner, it would have saved a little time here, but, like I said, I talked with Sheriff Hagerty, and I appreciate it, I had a nice visit. These are 2 valued people. I mean,
Right. Sure.
these are not people, these are people he would like to keep in his organization, and I hope that goes a long way toward finding them a position in our structure, and even if it's not ideal, I mean, it's less pay, especially for one of them, it's quite a substantial, but that's not to say that there wouldn't be a position open up 6 months from now, or a year from now, where that applicant could be back up similar, maybe even at some point, maybe it might be our next business manager. I don't know. I mean, we haven't hired the business
Charlie,
manager
I love how
yet.
you're going to sell it like
I don't know.
there is a golden rainbow in the next 6 months, and
Yeah.
Charlie, that's not probably the case of
Yeah.
it. I want to at least speak the truth to it. So it's
No, Derek, I totally, I agree with you totally, that this is not a good situation for, whenever you eliminate positions, there's gonna be turmoil, and it's not good, but I want our people to be treated as well as we can possibly do it, and I have to almost put trust in, between you and the sheriff, that's gonna get done. I mean, as good as we can actually do it anyway, I mean, it's, like I said, you talk to either of these positions that are being eliminated, talk to either of the people, and it's not going to be fair. They're not, and I got that. If that was me, I'd be saying the same exact thing. I'd be calling my county commissioner and seeing what they could do to help, and they're totally within their rights to do that, and that's, you know, and we have to, I think, make sure that they're treated as well as, you know. The thing is, we talk about elected officials. The sheriff's over there, and he's counting on their vote next time he runs.
And I will give Sheriff Hagerty, this right here, this is a good plan. And I have no problem with the reorganization. It's just how we went from A to B. It's the process that in between. And it just seems a little messy, and I was hoping that there's a way we could have gotten from A to B a little cleaner.
I think you're right. I think there's always communication that could have taken place maybe a little earlier, you know, especially with the affected positions, so that it would maybe smooth out some of the bumps in the road. And
Well, the other thing is too, is that, you know, there are dispatch positions that are open, and I believe those are at higher classifications than the OT2 and the accounting techs, if I remember correctly.
I would assume, I don't.
And then there's also, one of the things that was in here too, is that in the future, they're going to eliminate a sergeant position in communications and come up with a communication supervisor's job description for that transaction. So we
Right.
do have 2 supervisors that are being displaced, but there will be an opening here sometime in the near future for a supervisor in
Communications.
communications dispatch. So there are other alternatives and potentials in the future. Okay.
And, go ahead. And before we go on, though, I wanted to apologize for Sheriff Hagerty if I misrepresented him in any way. You'll correct me, but I said, I think you value these people, and I think that was an accurate statement, and if I said, I just hope that we can do right by them.
And, you know, Chairman Burrell, that's the hardest thing, is when there's people that you really care about and you know they're valued employees, and trying to make these decisions it's extremely difficult.
So where do we want to go from here?
Well, I'd like to finish with the minutes for the, and you can stay there. No, get back up there. Because if I remember correctly.
He said, please, you just didn't
Yeah,
hear
I
it.
didn't hear that.
Oh, I don't think I did.
He meant to say please.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Oh. Altar boy's gone bad.
The last item, the performance review for Sean Riley, Planning and Zoning Administrator. Based on 5 performance evaluations received, the committee recommends a rating of meets expectations.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, Sonny, you said that this was a record where,
It's the first time since I've been here that we've received all 5 evaluations from the commissioners. So it's the beginning of the year. It's the first department head evaluation of the year. Let's try to keep that streak all the way through the end of the year.
thank you, Sonny.
Is that why you wanted me to
Yeah,
stand?
now you can sit down. I just thought that since you brought that up at that personnel meeting, I just felt you may want to. I will make a motion to accept the minutes and the recommendations.
I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delida and second by Commissioner Hewsome. Now, is there any more discussion?
I'm not in favor of it. I would have liked to, I still would like to have a talk as to how I'd like to see it done differently, but I don't know that there is any other options to it. That's the problem, the caveat that I'm at. The ball's rolled too far, and I'm frustrated by it. I'm frustrated because we need the savings and the help is needed in the department with the talent there, but I still have a problem with how we went from A to B, and I'm struggling, and unfortunately, Sonny doesn't seem to think that we have a lot of other options, because we really can't go the option of trying to let people apply for those positions.
Well, I have a problem that we've had people that are doing jobs that were misclassified.
And that's what led us into the situation in the first place.
And that would have been supervisors
Exactly.
that should have brought that to attention.
I just, I think a lot of this heartache here could have been mitigated.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I guess we'll call for a vote.
Do you want to
Oh, you know what? Yes, I'm sorry. Does
wanna
anyone
speak?
else? Because we are an open county here. Yes, please. See, please. We're always welcome in Wright County for a constituent, so, or an employee as far as.
Good
that
morning,
goes.
Commissioners. My name is Karen Davis. I've been Office Supervisor for the Wright County Sheriff's Office since April 2010, and I'm on behalf of Teresa Dorr. She's been Supervisor for 30 years. You may know my son, Chad Davis. I just have to give a little plug there.
Oh, that's your son in IT?
Yeah.
I never put two and two together.
Yeah.
Explains a
That's
lot,
good,
though.
The streamlining, I've got a few points here. I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but our question as far as why our positions are being eliminated, one of the main questions we have is that in all the other sheriff's office divisions, not the supervisory level on the same level as ours, they're not being eliminated. They're either a sergeant or in dispatch, they're replacing the sergeant with a civilian supervisor, but there is still a supervisor who reports to a lieutenant, who reports to a captain, who reports to a chief deputy. Now that the business manager is coming on, she is going to be part of the command staff. But now, for some reason, in the clerical division, they feel that the two supervisors are not needed. We supervise 17 and a half people. 1.5 of those people are vacant right now. There is a division called the SIU division that has 2 deputies. They report to a supervisor that are on our level. They report to a sergeant, just 2 people. There's one boat and water deputy. He reports to a sergeant. And we've always been told by Chief Deputy Dave Miller that our supervisory positions are on the same hierarchy level as a sergeant. So in all the other sheriff's office divisions, all the employees report to a sergeant level, who reports to a lieutenant, part of the command staff. But in the clerical division now, the 2 supervisors are being eliminated. I lost my train of thought here. But the other thing is one of our direct supervisors, he told Teresa and me that when he was appointed to supervise the clerical division, he was expecting problems because of conversations that had taken place in command staff meetings and in other conversations. He was expecting problems with the clerical unit because the command staff on higher level than him, he had gotten a strong impression that there were problems with the clerical unit. So he was expecting it. When he began to supervise us, he found that the clerical unit was running smoothly. He said he didn't have any problems at all. He said he told Teresa and I were doing an excellent job, and he didn't have any problems whatsoever. So he didn't know why the perception higher than him was that the clerical staff had problems, because it was running fantastic. The other thing that I had lost my train of thought. We're down 1.5 positions, and the reorganization here is eliminating 1.5 positions. If he keeps the 2 supervisory people, you can still not post for those 1.5 positions, and you're saving money. Now, if he wants to spread out the clerical duties, because we're down 1.5 positions, he could give more clerical duties to Teresa, because Teresa has been instructed to just supervise and not do any clerical duties, but just supervise. So there is opportunity to distribute some of the clerical duties to Teresa, thereby eliminating the problem of the crunch between the other people. So even if you keep our 2 supervisor positions, you'll still save money by not posting for 1.5 positions, which is the streamlining. If he still wants to go ahead and reclassify those people, we're still talking about the same number of people. The plan that they gave you on the left side is what we are currently, the number of people we have, the 2 vacancies are there. On the right side is his plan. It's still the same number of people. We didn't change anything. All he's doing is he's eliminating the 1.5 vacancies that are already vacant, thereby saving 1.5 people.
So isn't that a savings?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you'd be saving 1/2 person.
1.5 people, the office techs, we're short 1.5 people. So if we don't post for those people and we eliminate those positions, you're saving the same number of people as in this plan. So if you still want to reclassify the office techs to up 2 grades to accounting tech and 1 office tech up a grade to TAS, you can still do that. We don't understand why why it's necessary for the 2 supervisor positions to be eliminated when it's not being eliminated in any other divisions, and you can still save 1.5 people even if you don't eliminate our positions. I've been at the sheriff's office for 22.5 years. The first 7.5, I was a 911 dispatcher. Teresa has been at the sheriff's office for 39.5 years. It'll be 40 years in June, and now we feel like the rug is being pulled out from under us. We're told that the supervisory position will last until April 28th. As a supervisor for county policy, we need to give a 30-day notice to leave in good standing. I was told about this news at 11:30 in the morning after the Personnel Committee on March 22nd. Teresa was told March 23rd. If we want to go and get a comparable wage that we are now going, we would have to go externally, but we're only given less than a week to find another job because we have to give a 30-day notice to leave in good standing. That gives us less than a week to find a different job that's comparable. And it's fantastic that he's offering us an accounting tech position and an office tech position, granted mine is 2 grades lower, or 2 grades lower, and Teresa's is 3 grades lower. I got that wrong, but anyway, it's fantastic, but life is that there's no 100% guarantees. So I think it's wonderful that he's offering us this and that he assures us that we will most likely be the most experienced people to apply, but there's no guarantee. There are people in human services that have been working in finance for years and years. Perhaps they're interested in the accounting tech position. They have just as much experience as I do. I have no guarantee that I'm going to get my demoted position that I have to apply for because I'm having to compete against other people.
Have you had an opportunity to talk to Sunny Haas?
No.
Regarding some of these?
No, we haven't. Sheriff Haggerty called Teresa and I into the office. I believe it was with Captain O'Malley, Chief Deputy Hoffman, and Captain Ansman, if I remember correctly, about 4 weeks ago when our receptionist accepted a position at the county attorney's office. So we're short a receptionist. And he said, we want to talk about the clerical situation. And so at that time, we talked about, well, who might be good to fill in as receptionist. But the ultimate plan that he had told us before we left that meeting was he decided that he would wait until the business man, before posting the position, he would wait for the business manager to start so that the business manager could review the clerical, see if any workload would need to be distributed, and then give a recommendation to him as far as whether we needed to post the position. That is what we were told about 4 weeks ago. Nothing was ever mentioned about any reorganization, any job titles being changed, or us losing our jobs. Nothing was mentioned about that. It was an opportune time for him to mention something about that. We would have at least had 4 more weeks to try to find a different job that would be comparable to what we're now making.
And you still have that because your position doesn't get eliminated until the end of April.
But we have to give a 30-day notice to leave in good standing.
It's today. They have to give the notice today.
No. There's some miscommunication on that part. If the position's eliminated, that would be considered a layoff, therefore the people in those positions would not have to give a notice or be able to leave the county in good standing. That's the county's decision to eliminate those positions. So the position layoff or elimination will be effective April 28th. Basically, it's a position elimination, it's a layoff.
Is we offering severance then in this capacity? Then I'm guessing
They would get the payouts as they would under leaving in good standing.
I guess this leads me to the conclusion. So this is all about saving money then, right? This is what's about saving money. Then that's
it's not about saving money.
That's what it is, because that's what Charlie's selling it as. Because that's where we're reorganizing this. Then that's if we're gonna do that, then let's unilaterally audit the whole department then.
And I may be not giving it, if it's gonna save money, make more efficient, and there's other things too.
Then we can look into other ways to saving, and that way we can look across. Maybe it'll open up other positions that possibly within the department might open up by auditing it through. You know, I mean, I just, then at least puts us out there to make it smell better.
But yeah, there isn't much in there though.
Oh, yes.
I think it's important to make sure people understand that reorganizations are never solely about saving money, nor should they ever be. They are about aligning tasks to the appropriate level of position.
But
So if we've got a business manager starting April 3rd, who the sheriff has decided is going to take all of the supervisory responsibilities of the clerical unit, we need to make sure that we're doing right by taxpayers' dollars and having the rest of our positions at the right level for the tax that we have. So there's no longer that supervisory responsibility at the office supervisor position because it's all going to that business manager. So it's not always all about saving money. It's about aligning tasks appropriately to the right level of position.
But
Because
that's why
otherwise,
they're-
you're going to have to answer the question of why are you paying two people in an office supervisor position who aren't supervising?
Well, exactly, and that's the reason why it's a matter of looking at it.
Those taxes.
But is there ways of aligning it that we're still saving money? Because the reason they're doing this is right now, the selling point is that we're saving
Well,
1.5 FTEs.
and that may be,
It's not all about the number of
No.
FTEs, because 1.5 FTEs under the current is not the same as 1.5 FTEs under the proposed.
Exactly, because one's at
they're
12 pay
different
grades
levels.
versus, yeah, I understand
So
that.
you can't just look at
The
the
F-
FTE comparable.
Well, exactly.
and I think, Derek, I know, like, if I was talking to a constituent, other than my, here, but they would say, it's taxes, they want lower money. But yes, in government, Sonny's right, it's not just money, but it's efficiencies and effectiveness, and those are the things. But usually that will lead to, with this change, that it is going to be cost less
And
money.
efficiency happens with employee morale too.
Yeah.
A
But the effectiveness-
happy workplace and a happy department
Yeah.
can be way more efficient than if it's not. So, and that's the reason I'm wondering through this whole clerical pool, is this gonna be poison in the water? I don't know.
Well, the problem is that there isn't a whole lot we can do as commissioners. I mean, because even if we said, leave it as it is, they're still gonna have to deal with the sheriff because he's an
Absolutely.
elected official and he has the right to do what he wants, whether we agree with it or not.
He has the latitude to manage his department how he wants. But there also is the fact of the matter that the employees are the county's employees. They're employees of the board, the county, there are, in that sense. My question is I wanted to find a way that way I could work with Sheriff Hagerty to have had this not be in this situation. Unfortunately, I'm not a sheriff, and I don't claim to be a sheriff, and I don't have the slightest idea on how to run a good sheriff's department. And I'm not going to claim to be. And I was hoping to find a way that I wouldn't have your clerical pool. Unfortunately, I feel up in arms, and I just think that this could have found a way to have this reorganization done differently.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna make a motion to withdraw my motion. Because it's been so long since I made the motion that I've forgotten about it. Will the person that did the second?
Christine?
Would all move to accept, the, minutes and recommendations for items 1 and item 3. Item 2 to come back next week for a final decision.
At the personnel, or do you want to
No,
have it back to?
come back to the board,
Okay.
which would give, to move this on so we can keep moving, to give Commissioner Betch an opportunity to have further discussions and see what
Well,
he understands.
And for all of us, actually, if that's okay.
Okay,
Okay,
for everybody.
all right, so Commissioner,
withdraw it, Dr.
motion was withdrawn, and then the new motion.
It's accept item 1 and 2, 3
And to bring the other one back next week.
next week for a final decision.
Motion by Commissioner Delighted,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Houston on the new motion. Commissioner Potter, you want?
No,
You're okay?
since
Okay.
we-
Maybe that was your suggestion.
No, we just went in a different direction, so I figured I'm just gonna.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We humbly appreciate your
And
attention.
appreciate you coming forward and talking.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Might I
Commissioner
suggest we
Potter.
take a 5-minute break to give Susan a chance to.
Otherwise, are we close to done here, though?
We're
or-
pretty
No,
close
we're
to
not.
done.
No, we got a ways to go yet.
Susan,
We're
it's all
not.
right? Yep.
I have a lot to.
And I need a potty break.
Should we do 5?
It's your call, Mr. Chair.
Well,
I'm going.
let's do a 5-minute break. Waiting for the sign from my producer.
We're good.
Yeah. I know, yeah, I know.
Okay, there we go. All right, we're back from a short break here. The Ways and Means Committee, Commissioner Houston, could you take that?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Ways and Means Committee met on March 22nd, 2017. Members present, Houston Potter, and for Commissioner Burrell, Chair Burrell, and Lee Kelly, others present. Assistant County Attorney Kreiser, Chris Hector, the President of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association, Russ Fortner, Greater Lake Sylvia Association, Blaine Barkley, Greater Lake Sylvia Association, Jim Gray, Greater Lake Sylvia Association, and Kevin Farnham, the Cronus Lake Association, and the Treasurer of the Minnesota Coalition of Lake Associations. And the discussion was the Regional AIS Inspection Program update. And Kreiser said the purpose of the meeting was to provide an update regarding the aquatic invasive species funding and the inspection process for Lake Sylvia. He said the Lake Sylvia Association met with the County Soil and Water Conservation District on 3/13/17, and they also, the association, applied for a grant from the Initiative Foundation for a regional inspection program. And Kreiser said they should hear within the next month whether they're approved for the grant. And once notified, Kreiser will ask that they ask the Soil and Water District to set up a regional inspection program. Staff will bring an ordinance amendment to the county board before Memorial Day requesting adoption of the program. And also, the above series of events are contingent upon whether the Initiative Foundation grant is awarded. Staff and the Soil and Water District are not in favor of setting up regional inspections unless the sites are fully staffed. Kreiser said if the county board adopts a resolution scheduling a public hearing regarding the establishment of a lake improvement district, LID, for Lake Sylvia, lakeshore owners would be notified by mail. The public hearing could be held after their annual meeting in early June, and then the lid could be reflected in the 2018 county budget. He said the board would have to adopt the lid in September, but it would be advantageous to have the information by August. Discussion ensued regarding the spread of starry stonewort to other lakes and how to raise awareness and motivate staff officials and lawmakers to address the problems. And Potter encouraged those present from lake associations to contact their legislators regularly. The recommendation is it was informational only. And with that, Mr. Chair will move the minutes.
Commissioner Houston, so
Let's see if we can get a second
No
first.
discussion yet. Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, now you can.
Now you
talk.
can.
Okay, sorry. Commissioner Houston.
Yes.
Did it sound like a lot of the lake owners in Sylvia would propose they want the lake improvement district?
You know, we didn't actually have that discussion, but they are definitely in favor of moving forward with this, but
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Vetch, I think at this point in time, it's hard to gauge what the interest is from the lake owners out there specifically. The Lake Association itself has been covering these kind of expenses on their own, and it was an option that staff threw out to them to create a more formalized, I guess, kind of improvement process for dealing with these things on the lake. It's a tool that's in the statute. We're just simply throwing it out there. I think if we have the discussion in the public hearing, I think it'd be very beneficial for everyone involved. Not saying which way we should or should not go here, but I think it's a good discussion that should be had.
Well, it is, and then as spring comes closer to it, because I mean, I've had a number of conversations with a lot of people from the Annandale area regarding this issue, and I would like to see some public feedback as to, and I'd like to get some more information from the Sylvia Lake Association as to whether they're going to be able to, without an LID, achieve the funds that they need to maybe contain this or not. That's
we don't know.
And then, Attorney Kreiser, one of the things I know I had conversation with you is I said, they really need to have a business plan that presented, because they did not do that at Soil Water, and I think there were members of the Soil Water Board would have liked that as well, to show this is our costs, and this is how we're gonna raise it, this is how it's gonna be funded down the road. And until we can do that, I don't really support changing an ordinance until somebody can put forward a viable business plan.
absolutely. Commissioner Burrell, I totally agree with, until you have numbers in place in as to how the money be spent, to do anything else would be, that would be doing the, cart before the horse.
And they did, they put out, there's some things that they do, but it's really not a comprehensive plan, and we need something, and I'm not talking of no formal thing or anything like that, but it needs to be put out there with some numbers that we could look at and say, yeah, that makes sense. To, they're getting a piece of property for free, but to put in the two things and to have it staffed, and where's all the money gonna come from?
Yeah, and that's what even when I've talked with some of the members on the board, and kind of my guidance was to them is, you tell us what we need and we'll go that route. I guess I haven't heard directly from them. I don't know, Greg, have they reached out as to any kind of particular from the Lake Association? They requested this then?
I guess Commissioner Vetch, could you clarify?
Like, they're not requesting that we start a discussion for LID?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I mean, that was something staff threw out when this came up as an option, and I said it's worth a discussion, I think.
Yeah.
To see where the funding should come from. Should it be voluntary basis, or does the lake want to make everyone contribute?
But at this point, we don't know what the funding even would be, because we don't know the cost.
We don't know. No. And as far as the Lake Improvement District, we'd have to adopt, kind of just to give you kind of a brief, kind of high-level overview of the process here. The board would adopt a resolution setting a public hearing date. We'd have to mail everyone that would be proposed to be in the Lake Improvement District notice of that hearing. So they get it in the mail. And we're proposing to put that public hearing date after the Lake Association's annual meeting.
Right.
But allow that association also to have an annual meeting and discuss it there. Again, having more discussion on it. If the board were to adopt the Lake Improvement District, there is a certain percentage of people on the lake that could then petition for a formal election on the lake. I want to say it's about 26%, but I don't want to quote that number exactly, but there is a small number of, smaller than 50% of the lake owners could petition for a formal election to be conducted by the county auditor.
Who sets the budget for this lid?
The county board would.
Okay, and then basically we take recommendations,
through.
probably from the Lake Association, I'm guessing.
I would anticipate it would look something similar to what we would do
We
all
have,
the other
yeah.
departments.
Phoebe and Charlotte?
Go
Pulaski.
ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, we have two I know of. We have Charlotte and Lake Pulaski,
Pulaski.
two current LIDs.
Commissioner Houston.
Thank you, Chairman Burrell. Commissioner Vetch, correct, currently, the people on Lake Sylvia have been funding a lot of money, or they put a lot of money toward this. And I've gotten a lot of phone calls from people and talked to a lot of people in the Annandale area that are very supportive of this regional inspection. It makes sense because, you're bringing everything to one site instead of having inspection sites at all these different lakes. And so it's really increases efficiency, and it should, lower the cost overall. However, it should be staffed all the time, obviously, and that's part of the thing, so, yeah.
Okay. All right, so right now it's just informational, but I think we raised some good questions here, so. All right, any further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
To approve the minutes. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are adopted. Okay. And next up is authorized attendance orientation at the Minnesota Department of Health. Who is to address that?
That would be myself. I'm
Okay, Derek, go
looking
ahead.
for approval to attend the Minnesota Department of Health. Carol has invited myself. I think it's open to other commissioners. It's just kind of a good overview of programs through the Minnesota Department of Health. Provided I don't serve on jury duty at those 2 days, I will plan to attend June 15th and 16th in St. Paul.
So you want to make a motion to authorize?
I will make a motion to authorize
Attendance.
Commissioner Vetch at the.
Well, why don't we just leave it to the board then?
Just
so.
Okay.
so anybody can
All right,
go.
and I
Yeah.
actually will be there as a SHAC member on
Okay, well,
Friday, so.
Actually, I don't remember this ever being offered to me.
No,
Okay, so the motion.
Something fairly new, so.
Yeah.
The motion
I'll
will be
second
to
it.
authorize attendance at this meeting. Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Potter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Letter of support for the Greater Regional, is that from you, Commissioner Potter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I asked to put this letter before, this to, it might be a little bit on the redundant side, that the Great River Regional Board, but all the participating counties, except for us, have put actually a resolution together, but a letter of support is enough for this. Unfortunately, I just got some word that House File 1382 has some modifications to it already, but it still doesn't hurt to move this forward and submit this to our local legislators and the governor that we do support the library associations and they need to find a long-term, again, just like transportation, a long-term, sustainable, predictable funding cycle. Because they have the same problem that everybody else has, is that from year to year, they don't know exactly what's coming at them, so it's really hard to program anything in. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to authorize sending a letter, to have our chair sign this and send a letter to the appropriate legislators and the governor.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, schedule committee of the whole for the courts facility. Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a follow-up item from last week. There was discussion of a desire to have a meeting for the full board to kind of get an update on the status of the project and such. I did reach out to Bruce Schwartzman from BKV Group on a couple possible dates. I'm assuming the board would like to have this meeting sooner or later than later.
Yep.
I will throw out that we do have an owners committee already planned for April 3rd in the afternoon. So I guess two things maybe I'll throw out, either in the morning, potentially, that we could do a committee of the whole, or...
And actually, Lee, I'm not going to be available that day.
Okay.
Either is Mark, right?
Yeah, I won't be available next week at all.
So,
So the 3rd is out of the running, it sounds like.
it'd be too early to do something this.
Another date Bruce had thrown out was the morning of April 5th or April 11th or 18th he had looked at.
Why don't we do something on the 11th? Does that look good?
The 11th, we have board and leadership.
We don't have leadership.
Boy, I hate to go as far as the 11th. We're getting kind of far out, and we have.
Well, Mark's going to be gone all next
Oh,
week.
that's right. So okay, then we'll go the 11th.
Well, you don't have to do it with me.
Well, it'd be
I'd
nice.
like to be there,
I'd like
but
you to be there. Yeah,
I think the full board should be there.
I think so
Mr.
too,
Chair.
because we're talking pretty high level.
We are.
If the 11th works, would the 11th work at a 10:30 thing then? We don't have leadership that day.
The 11th would work. I do think it is important to note that, we are still in schematic design. It's early in the process. Having been in every meeting, I've seen a lot of design changes with buildings moving, sizes expanding, shrinking. I don't want to give sweep the issue under the rug, not saying there's an issue, but I also think there's a lot of moving parts yet. But I think it would be good for the board to get an updated status.
Do you think if we did the, go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm the one that asked the coordinator to put this to, because it was starting to get so big of issue coming in here. I thought it was time to bring the whole board back in and refocus and clarify the focus of this, because it was starting to get far afield. And we're supposed to be at the 50,000 foot level here, and we're starting to get down into the weeds, and I want to avoid that because we're not to the weeds yet. We're still higher up, but it was starting to get so many issues coming up that I thought it was better for the whole board to see where we're at, to see if there's something that they have an issue with before we get too far in the process, and then you come back and say, well, this isn't what we thought we were doing.
Well, and I think it's prudent at this point that us as a board put some parameters as to what we're going to be willing to build. I mean, because this went from 3 months ago from around 100 to 120,000 square feet to 140,000 square feet.
No, originally it was 89,000 square feet.
That was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, that was from the study, and
that was
then
from the
we
study.
said to go with, we figured.
Up to 100.
Up to
Study was
100.
report.
Yeah, and then when we were talking in January, they were thinking it might be more like 120. Now that we're looking at 140, I mean, I just think from us as a board, we need to collectively kind of put a scope as to what we're willing to build.
I agree.
Yeah.
So do you want to go 10:30 or 11 o'clock on Tuesday?
That would be an option. One thing I'll just throw out quick, knowing that we are doing our construction manager interviews on the 30th this week. I don't know if we could maybe carve out time that day. Would also be an opportunity if
The
the board
13th?
wanted to meet sooner.
The 30th, you
This
said?
this
March
Thursday.
30th, correct, this Thursday. So,
What time is that meeting?
I
30.
think the first one is at 12:30. It is
12:30 through 4:30, it's,
correct, yep.
Would it be
Because that's the
possible to
building
do it-
committee that, or the owners committees on that one.
Yep, the owners committee, myself and Alan, the facility services director, and
Mr.
Bruce.
Chair.
Plan to beat that.
Yes, go ahead.
Coordinator Kelly, is this enough time to set a meeting, being that this is Tuesday and that's Thursday?
That would be the challenge. We'd be not able to meet 3-day posting on that
Okay.
one.
I mean, I could do Friday morning, otherwise, if you wanted to do it this week yet.
You got something, Brian, or?
Oh, actually, I can't do Friday.
Oh, okay.
I'll be in a,
So should we just
Minnesota
go with the
EMS.
11th then?
The 11th you want to go in the morning yet, or go
I might as
after
well go 11
lunch?
o'clock, because Bruce is gonna be here. If a board meeting would go long, I'd hate to see him.
Yeah,
You know,
I guess I'd say the 11th at 11 perhaps, and just note that we did have several discussions last week about changes to the plan design, and so I am anticipating another set of documents coming next week.
So
And I'll share
actually
those
then-
with the
then
board.
holding
as well.
off till the 11th might be better.
Yep.
Okay,
And Mr.
so,
Chair, I'll make a motion to set a owners committee of the whole in reference to the courts facility for April 11th at 11 o'clock.
second,
motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. We are up to advisory committee.
No, we are, Mr. Chair.
We have, oh, that's right, Commissioner
petition
Potter.
item.
Put that on. Go ahead with the property that's up. You wanted a closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm the one that petitioned this on. This is in reference to our closed meeting discussions we've had on property 101, 500, 172, 203, to schedule a closed session to talk about the counteroffer, or the offer that was made in the discussion thereabouts.
And just a clarification, I believe the first three numbers of the PID are 103.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry.
I believe the first three numbers of the parcel number are 103 rather than
103,
101.
Chris. If I said 102, is 103 is what the number is.
Just
yes.
for clarification. So
Okay, did you have a proposed date, Commissioner, Mike?
That would be up to the full board what they have open right now.
If you don't want to wait for the whole next week, perhaps we could do it early on Friday morning. I have Central Minnesota
This Friday?
EMS.
I can't make.
You can't make it.
Can't make this Friday either.
Can't.
Well, why don't you guys do it in the board, before the board meeting next week?
We could do that.
That would be good.
That's what we
Okay.
did before, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock is
on the-
good.
8 o'clock on the 4th?
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to
8
set
o'clock
a,
or 8:30?
Or the 8:30, yeah, we won't need that long, so.
8:30.
8:30, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a committee of the whole closed session meeting at 8:30, April 4th.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delyden for that closed session on the, yes, go ahead.
Regarding this, also, I did put some papers in the back regarding what current commercial properties are going for in Buffalo. And the highest one was at 210 per square foot.
We can discuss that, the other thing there.
Okay,
Chair.
so all in favor of the meeting on the 4th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous. Now we're down to committee advisory board updates. Anyone want to start it off?
I'm gonna make this quick here, just because it's a little bit of points that I have to put on there. We had our Central Minnesota Mental Health meeting last night, March 27th. Myself and Commissioner Hewsome were available. We recapped the financials. The financials were presented from the past 2 months. Financials are in fair condition, considering this is typically a slow cash flow time of year as clients' deductibles reset. A date was set for April 24th for the 2016 financial audit to be presented. Discussion took place over a possible bonding bill placed by Senator Senjum of Rochester to build a building possibly in the St. Cloud area in this bonding bill to offer a variety of mental health services. If the bill passed and the building was built, could possibly open up opportunities for Central Minnesota Mental Health and CentraCare to partner up in managing these services. So that's kind of an item that we want to kind of watch. It could be very fruitful for central Minnesota in terms of offering mental health if that bonding bill would go through. The big item that we had was a long discussion took place regarding the central Minnesota mental health governance and the lack of that, or the governance and the lack of them, and the need for the board to make changes. These discussions have taken place on a number of occasions over the past couple of years. At this current time, a number of board members want to progress with researching whether the 4 counties and their commissioners and the commissioners of Wright, Stearns, Benton, and Sherburne are still needed as board members to direct this 501c3 or variation of that. A list of pros and cons were presented along with a draft of a possible timeline for possible governance changes. It was decided to move this discussion to each county's health and human service directors along with administration and county's attorneys for the administrative staff, health and human service directors and attorneys to report back to their board members with ideas and suggestions as to how the counties view on this. This will be returned for a further discussion and a possible vote to continue forward on June 26th if the Central Minnesota Health the county's involvement would be disbanding or not.
Well, so Derek, what, if they didn't have the county boards as the governing board, who would they have?
They are going to create their own board based of mental health individuals and philanthropists and people in the community that would basically apply for the seat.
Passionate about, mental health, basically.
I guess my input was, I think maybe you should stick with the county, because if you just go back about a year and look at the turmoil that thing was in, I don't think you would have made it work without the county board people involved.
And this is what I would say, because this is where we will eventually, after it gets vetted through Lee Kelly's office and the attorneys, and with Jamie, they're going to sit down and get the information from Central Minnesota Mental Health.
Yeah.
They're going to report to us, and we will sit down as a committee of a whole.
Yeah,
Because
we'll do
we
a
will,
committee of a whole.
it has to get, all 4 counties have to approve it for it to dissolve. If one county doesn't pass it, it doesn't dissolve.
I'm just looking at like, when they had their inept administrator, and then without the board's involvement, I think I think it would have fallen apart.
And Commissioner Burrell, I voiced a lot of those concerns last night at the meeting, and Commissioner Houston will attest to that. It was good after the
We
fact
had good
that I would encourage you to talk with Diana Erkins over in Health and Human Services. She'll be able to paint you a really good picture as to how our money works within them and what it would look like if we weren't involved with them. Either way, it has some pros and cons, and I think as it vets out, I think you might be able to make a better sound decision.
It'll come back to us.
It'll come back to us.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Derek. Anyone else?
Mark?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Last week, we met regarding a couple different ditches with Wright County Soil and Water about spraying. Commissioner Vetch was in there with me, so he had a taste of the very interesting subject of ditches.
Is that what you
ditch
call
life.
that?
Anyway, we did get one quote from one company to do spraying. Again, these are the ditches which work in the farm fields, which are more of a rural stormwater. It's not a ditch along a county road. It's a ditch that it works as a kind of a rural stormwater type application system. Anyway, last year they couldn't get anybody to bid on it. They did get one person to bid on it with the help of the highway department. And it's because, especially on ditch 10, which we spent a fair amount of money cleaning out a few years ago. We got trees that are starting to grow in there already.
Wow.
So all that money we spent, if we don't get this maintained, we're going to be, somebody else is going to be doing the damn thing all over again. So it's time to step up to the plate and take care of this. Anyway, Bob has some different ideas regarding Ricky Noonan on some of the recommendations, and those will be coming together more in the future and stuff.
Okay?
Just want to let you know, give you a heads up. We did get a few things done on that.
Absolutely.
Oh, and then we also got 3 bids on ditch 10 regarding improving water quality going to Lake Ann. They're getting some clarifications from the 3 that bid on it. Also, we're trying to get some clarification on what we paid for just before we came on board regarding ditch 10.
TMDL, or they mean the clean out?
No, it was actually something that was done before the clean out.
The study.
The study,
It was
but
a
it was a
hydrology study,
yeah, and it was to find out. There was supposed to be a lot of information there, and we're trying to find that, piece that down. Track
Because
that
that
down,
was.
because it was a fair
Because they were
amount.
planning on doing the clean out on ditch 10, and because of the concerns with the Lake Ann and some other residents, they actually did a study, a hydrology study, and some other things
Which
to
should
make
have-
sure that the clean out would not adversely affect that.
Which hasn't solved the problem.
Yeah.
But that information is going to be needed for this next study. So anyway, they're looking at it based off, once we do this other study, and that's why we need to get this other information, we may be able to qualify for some funds to improve the water quality going into Lake Ann by coming up with wider spots in ditch 10, putting in filtration, best management practices. So we don't know what that'll look like, but we're trying to move forward with an overall water quality improvement goal.
Yeah. Good, and then they also should incorporate in the TMDL that was done on Lake Ann as well. That was total, it's something about the load, the phosphorus load and stuff that's in, how much was external.
Did Wink do that also?
I believe they did, but it was done right before that other study, so Lake Ann.
That's what they're trying to find,
And I
is all
guess
that information.
my point when I was out campaigning this last year is I said, I think we have enough studies, it's time to actually do something, and now here I am gonna be voting for
But
another
you had to,
study.
because the soil and water needed the study for the grant.
Yeah, but then again, that's why we need to find out what was done prior to, so that we're not paying twice. Because some of that stuff might be useful for this study where.
Save time and effort and energy.
Time, effort, and money.
Yeah.
Money too.
So we're trying to get that all clarified.
And we gave the approval also for soil and water to take the lead, didn't we, as well, on that project then? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Yep.
But they're gonna,
I don't know if that was a wise thing, is it?
well, yeah. It's a 50-50, but Mike Young is involved in it.
Yep.
Okay.
So the ditch inspector is working with soil and water on.
I just think our ditches, because if this works out like it did down in a county ditch by Mankato, they did some projects like this, and it was the ditch authority working with, actually, we got some grant money from the DNR and stuff, but I don't know the extent of their soil and water, but the ditch things are our kind of responsibility in the ultimate. So-
Well, and that's why we have our ditch inspector involved in it. But the thing is, once we get the studies, the funding will actually kind of go through Wright County Soil and Water. 'cause
I think
that's
it was,
where-
actually, I should take it back. We approved soil and water to work with, what, was it Mink, or?
No, with
Not,
no engineer yet.
not
It's
engineer
just to
yet.
define things with our attorney.
Oh,
with
no, to
our
go back and
inspector.
to ask questions on our behalf, based on those bids, to clarify, that's what it was. Yeah, we made,
Because,
give them the lead.
and again, to try and find out what study was done before.
Yep, that's what it was. Yeah, we gave them the lead to go get the information for us.
And the only thing I had, Lee and I met with a gal from the Census Department from Illinois, I believe she was up, and they're already starting to kick off the 2020 census. It was just a real high-level introduction to us. I just wanted to let you guys know, it was really nothing important talked about, but it's just that the process will be taking place, and it'll be starting, and so that's about it.
Well, that'll be 2020?
2020, yeah. But they'll.
Did they start in 2019, or is it?
Yeah.
Well,
So the
they're already
numbers-
starting preparation now, and a
Already.
large portion of the meeting was to engage the GIS folks and
Oh.
kind of make sure that the boundaries
We-
of the different municipalities are set
Right.
correctly. So.
And just like Steve Job was there also, pointed out, it wasn't an official meeting, it was just more of a, kind of a greet kind of thing. But Wright County, it doesn't have some of the same problems where other cities do, where, or counties do, where the line might go right through a residential area and then somebody's backyard is in the wrong area and stuff. We have a river here, we have pretty straight lines across the south, and, you know, so Steve said we really don't have the issues that some counties
Mr.
do.
Chair, I disagree with that. State Senate, I have part that has one person in it.
Yeah, over in Dayton.
Hanover.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did actually mention that, and then you know how they voted and stuff, so, okay. But, okay, anyway, that's all I had, Chris.
Just briefly, I went to the State Community Health Services Advisory Committee, SHAC meeting last Friday, and, you know, the commissioners' remarks basically entailed health equity around the state and health in all policies. And he also talked about the SAMHSA grant, which is substance abuse, and I thought this was a real, actually good way to put substance abuse. The diseases are diseases of despair. So it's suicide and addiction, and it's like, yeah, that kind of sums up a lot of what those people are going through. There was 583 Minnesota residents who died of opioid overdoses in 2015. And also, they have some ad hoc groups that are looking at performance improvement and technical assistance, and also centers for health equity and community health. And obviously, across the state, I mean, we really vary in the different services that the different community health boards are able to provide, and depending on your size and things and your needs, you vary greatly from the state and federal assistance that we get. So that's something to look at. And also, they're looking at how is Minnesota Department of Health are they providing adequate technical assistance? And we hear in our Health and Human Services meetings that, you know, we're not always talking the same language. So those are some of the issues they're looking at.
Okay. Mr. Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My first item is the library, which if more people read, we'd probably have less mental health issues. Maybe it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Anyway, we got the preliminary, you know, the high-level preliminary budget, and it's based on a baseline budgeting, which is adopted because of Benton County and some of the smaller counties like that version of how they do things, which is fine. And it's showing a 0.23% decrease in our budget. And that baseline budgeting includes what you've got, what you already have with the unions and everything else, which you got a contract, that's your new baseline, which we're going to have to start addressing union contracts for next year. So we're good through this year except for that part of it. So who knows what that, but right now it's showing a decrease, a small decrease. A couple other items that came up is that we're doing the library service agreement with all 32 branches. We've got almost half of them done now. A couple concerns with like this Kimball. They have a historic building that's in the historical register that the library's in, and there's no way they can make everything fit and still meet historical. So they kind of a little conundrum. So we try to make it so we want to achieve the goal of having uniformity across the system, but make sure that situations like that can be dealt with in a fair and way that matches the law. A couple of the branches in this county have talked about different things in the language, and they wanted to try to ram this through by the end of the year, and I made a point to say, no, you've got to wait until June, 6 months, give these people time to digest this information, get legal counsel, come on back and find out what's they like, what they don't like. The objective is to have a uniform service agreement instead of having 32 different ones, which we had at that point in time. We just didn't straighten this out. It isn't trying to take the rights away from a city or saying we're going to take your library away from you. It's just to have some kind of structure and clarity of what we're trying to accomplish. So more to come on that. That was a very long meeting last Tuesday. That was the longest one I've been in the library for a long time, forever since I've been there. Maybe Pat's been a long ones. The next item was Friday at I'm part of the AMC Transportation Work Group Subcommittee, and we talked about the platform going forward and what's going with the legislature what's going on and try to refocus on what we need to concentrate on. Some of the things that trying to corral 87 counties has been kind of tough. They're getting a little bit closer. They still have disagreements, but I said we got to go after what we can. Since the gas tax seems to be not up for discussion as far as following, it appears that the best shot you have is the adjustment on the tabs, which it makes you scratch your head because tabs, tax, fee, gas tax, tax, fee. What's, okay, the same thing. But, you got to go with whatever horse has got a chance to finish the race here.
But you only pay that once a year,
Per year.
the tab fee.
Yeah, the tab fee. But, if grandma doesn't drive much, she's going to pay that tab fee every year. But anyway, that's more to come on that. We have Lockridge Grindle helping us guide us through this, and we're fully intend to be on those conference committees that it gets put into. The next item after that, because I was down in St. Paul already, I ran into Lee, and he didn't get lost. He found his way to St. Paul, and I hope he obviously found his way home after that. I stopped in the State Senate for their hearing on finance election, and items there with Senator Kiffmeyer's bill, which was a very long one, included many different parts. One of them was also the state auditor, which I was down there when Auditor Otto was there testifying about her budget and everything else, and the questions about her discretionary money there came up. It was a very nice, spirited discussion. And when they're asking questions about how much their counties like ourselves and Becker have into this litigation already, I managed to get Senator Ingebrigtsen's attention to address Chair Rosen and the committee that we are in that neighborhood of $50,000 we have spent already, because both sides were asking the question where we're at, because they didn't have that, supposedly didn't have that. So they have that clarification in there. And I was hoping to meet Ms. Otto, but she kind of took off before I had a chance to see her. But anyway, that was good discussions, and even though it was a roll call vote to see it, it's included in the next round of this, everything that she had proposed. And I took that Senate file that was there, and I brought it up to Bob Hevel's office, because a lot of it has to do with elections coming forward, to make sure he's aware of what potentially is coming down the road there. So if anybody wants to see that, they can go up to Bob Hevel's office and see what might transpire. Who knows? The final, we'll figure out everything, but give them a heads up. And with that, Mr. Chair, that's all I have today.
Okay, and then we will take about a 5-minute break, and then we have a committee of the whole for strategic planning that was scheduled for 10:30. We're going to be a little late, it looks like. We will take 5 and then start that, and then at 1 o'clock we have a transportation committee of the whole, and I believe that's at the highway building?
Yes, it is.
It is,
At the
yes.
highway building. And so we stand adjourned at 11:35.